Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Krista Escamilla Show. I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you are having a fantastic summer doing things that you want to do. And if you're not, well, go do those things now, okay? This is your permission. It's time. Go do those things. I'm so excited about today's podcast. Before we jump into our amazing guest, I do want to thank our sponsors. I want to thank Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap Company, Tapestry Hotel Midland, and joincapclub.com. Feel free to support those local businesses however you can. Okay, time to introduce our amazing guest, and forgive me if I fangirl here a little bit because I am just so in awe of everything she does. Joining us today is Christine Foreman, and Christine has a technical title first, a new title, Region 18 Education Service Center Public Relations Liaison, but I know her as an amazing mom, volunteer, wife, community leader. The list goes on. Christine, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
This is going to be fun because we're friends, right?
Yes.
And I've looked up to you for so many years. And when I first met you, I have to say, when this explains the fangirl, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful and smart and kind and amazing. And then I met her and I'm like, oh, I was wrong. She's that and more. So now over 20 something years of friendship, I am just so grateful that you're someone I can call on a moment's notice and ask a question or sit in a podcast with or have dinner with. It's just, it's truly a gift to me. So thanks for being with us today.
Well, thank you for saying all that, but I think the same thing about you. So I could just say ditto. We are in this life together. So yes. I'm glad to have people around me that we can work together and lift each other up.
Me too. And I think that's what it's all about. And we're going to talk so many things today. But first, I want everyone to hear your story because I feel like everyone has a story. We can all learn from it, right? And so I want to know how you got to where you are today because every experience in life gets you to where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And so let's start from the beginning. Are you a lifelong Midlander?
I am. So I was born and raised here in Midland. I was born at Midland Memorial Hospital.
Oh, I love that.
Now I live close by. I get to look out my window and see. And then ultimately worked there. So I grew up in Midland, product of MISD schools. I went to Emerson Elementary to Goddard Junior High. We were bused in 4th and 6th grade, so I went to Henderson and Pease. Then Goddard at the time split, and so half of us went to what was then Lehigh, and half of us went to Midland High. And so I had friends at both high schools, which was really, really neat. And because we don't have that anymore. And then graduated high school, went to Midland College first.
Wait, I have to ask, were you a bulldog?
I was a bulldog.
Okay.
I bleed purple.
Hence
Thank
the purple
you.
Today.
Yes.
I was going through my closet. Christine's coming on, wearing purple.
Am I that obvious?
Well, I just know you that well. Yes. So I'm supporting 100%.
Thank you. Thanks for supporting my Bulldogs. And I'll say OYB
That's
for
right.
my favorite coach. So anyway, so I was a Bulldog,
yes.
Graduated Midland High and went to Midland College on the scholarship. The Legacy Scholarship, and then transferred to A&M, and I was an education major. It's funny how things come full circle.
Mm-hmm.
My senior year, I started doing I guess your student teaching is what they call it.
Okay.
And I went to my first day of student teaching and I came back and I was like, I never want to be in a classroom with kids again, ever in my life. And it was just a really shocking experience, one that I can't believe I didn't really think forward on that when choosing a degree, but anyway, that happened.
Well, I think you don't know until you're in there, and that's why I always advise anyone, go intern. Wherever you're thinking, because you'll either, and I've heard this before, you'll love it or hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's like that in TV news for sure. Like you either love it or hate it. So no, it means you should just go see if that's what you want to do.
So I should have seen and done that.
That's okay. You did it. You did when you were supposed to.
But like you said, every step that you take gets you to where you are today. So I called my mom and dad and I said, "Don't worry. I'm doing great at A&M. I love it up here, but I'm changing my major. I think I want to do something in the health field, but I'm not sure what. And they don't really have a nursing program here at A&M. So I'm just going to do health education as my major.
Great.
And I'll go ahead and get my degree and get out, and then I'll decide what I'm going to do. And my mom and dad said, not on our money, you're not. Which, as a parent now,
you understand.
I think that was really smart. So anyway, I came home at the end of that semester for the summer and started looking at nursing schools. And Midland College at the time was ranked third in the nation for associate degree nursing programs. So I applied to Midland College. I also had a boyfriend, my husband, Kevin, at the time.
Hi,
who
Kevin.
was living in Dallas. And so I applied to Tarrant County nursing school as well. I got accepted to both places, but about that time, Kevin said, I'm kind of tired of big city life. How about I look at getting a job in Midland? So he moved back to Midland. I went to nursing school at Midland College, and then I became a nurse and was married and had children and all the fun things, and living in Midland, which I swore I would never come back and live here, but living in
I've
Midland.
heard that before.
And actually loving it and
I love
thriving
that.
and figuring out a way to get plugged into a community that I grew up in.
Right.
So I joined the junior league, and I worked as a nurse at Midland Memorial Hospital, where I was born, and on postpartum with new moms and their babies, and then got hired by a local OB/GYN, Dr. Madden, who I loved working for. He was a great teacher and mentor of mine.
I bet, yes.
Worked in his office until I started having kids. And once I had my third, I was like, okay, I probably need to stay home and help raise my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided that we were, you kind of go into that thing of figuring out where you want them in school. Mm-hmm. And so we got to that point with our oldest, and we, had these visions of perfect children and perfect things and all the things. And so I went and visited Midland Montessori School, which we loved that place. I am a perfectionist, and so Gentry would not have learned how to pour milk into a glass had it not been for Midland Montessori, because I wouldn't let her do it because she would make a mess.
Right.
Also
the firstborn, right? The first, because if that would have been the third born, you would have been like, the mess is gonna happen.
That's right. And I had you three to clean it up.
That's
now
right.
That you're old enough.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Anyway, so we started there, and then I got invited to a book club, and we read this book called Going Public.
Okay.
And it really spoke to being a light in public schools, and it spoke to me and to the core of my being about being a light and witnessing in public schools. Because, if you think about it now, public schools are under fire a lot.
Yes.
And they were back then too. So
Right.
Not a lot has changed. A lot has changed, but not a lot has changed. And so, people just don't automatically think, I'm looking for the best thing for this baby of mine. And
Right.
they don't automatically think public school is the best thing. But
And you are such a light. When I think, my husband calls you education's biggest cheerleader. That's his title for you. He's like, she is education's biggest cheerleader, because you not only talk about, you walk the walk. So at what age were your kids when you jumped in and started? Because I know, I'm sure you were PTA president, right? Okay.
a few times.
A few times. I love that. Why was that so important to you? Because I think I've heard you say, but I want you to share why that is so important to you.
I had the training from junior league to be able to understand financials and understand leadership at a basic level, and getting a group together for a common good. Right. And all of those things are needed in PTA, but not everyone in PTA has that type of training.
It's true.
The other thing I think is just the confidence that you can do it, which I had done it in junior league. And so I really felt like I was capable of doing it. And then my favorite thing was getting in there and getting involved and supporting the staff at the school, supporting the principal, supporting the parents and the students, because you find out that it's not really just about your own child, it's about every other child in that school or in your community.
Because I think a lot of people probably jump in thinking they're just trying to help their child, right? In PTA or anything when they volunteer, when they're thinking, I'm going to go in because this is going to help my child. Mm-hmm. But really, you're helping everybody.
Yeah, which is really a really exciting idea, but also kind of daunting at the same time. But the more people that you can empower and gather around you, the better it can be. So I found really quickly that if I would take the leadership role that other people were fearful to take, then I could help train them and empower them and encourage them and lift them up to be able to do. Honestly, PTA president is one of the easier jobs because you're just overseeing all the worker bees.
Delegating?
Yes. Yeah. And so everybody would say, well, as long as I don't have to be president. And so I realized really quickly that if I would take on that role, then I could easily find people that were willing to help make the magic happen and do the work on campus. So yeah, that was, getting into PTA really helped me utilize the training that I already had, but then kind of move it in a different direction, and then spread that, not only that training to other people, but also just that encouragement that they could also be a part of the work.
Because everybody needs encouragement, because I am one of those that says, oh no, as long as I don't have to, tell me if I need to bring a case of water. But I'm like, no, why do you think there's people like me that are scared to jump in there and join, or do a little bit more? What do you think it is that holds us back from doing that?
Well, I would say, don't think of people like you in a negative way. We need all types of people to do that.
You case of water people, yes, it's okay to be the ones that drop off the cases of water.
It is okay until you realize and learn that you can do you can lead the case of water bottle collection. So it's, from starting small to really believing in yourself that you can do it in small increments, and then before you know it, you coordinator of the cases of water bottle is the president.
That's how quick it happens.
Yes, because I promise I started as the book fair chairman.
And they saw you coming. Mm-hmm. They said, "Future president," right there.
I'm not quite sure, but
what advice would you give to people that they want to jump in, they don't do it? What got you through? Because I'm sure there were times you felt that way too, like, I can't, be president, or is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this where I'm supposed to be putting my time? What would you say really kind of got you to do the next best thing?
I really think it was just starting where I could and then continuing to grow that. Just don't be afraid. Don't say that whatever I'm willing to do or I can do or I feel comfortable doing right now is insignificant. It's not. Start there, and then it will grow. As your passion grows and as your knowledge grows, it will grow with you. And then before you know it, laugh or not, but before you know it, you will be the president.
Yes, I agree.
Of PTA, the United States,
whatever it is, your company, wherever it might take you.
Right.
I have so many questions regarding leadership, volunteering, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. But first, it's about 10 after. I don't know. I think we may have gone a little over, but that's okay because this is going to be a long podcast, people. We've got so much to talk about.
Get your popcorn ready.
That's right. But my favorite thing is quotes, and how do I know she knows? Because see this book right here? She's given me this book right here.
This
bravely.
was one of my favorites. I have this one at home too. I got me a copy as well. But
I love it. I love it because to me, a quote, you never know how a quote's going to hit you and change your day or change someone else's day.
Well, and that one is trailblazing American women, and I think that's about us.
I agree. I've definitely you have blazed so many trails, and I am so grateful for your leadership. And so that's gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
But first,
But we're behind
But
time.
first, quote of the day. Let's see which quote you get and what it means to you. Which card did you get?
I got the kind.
'Cause you're
card.
so kind.
I don't know. I have to work really
Yes,
hard.
no, you are so kind. And what does it say?
Oh gosh, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I love Maya Angelou.
I do too. That is one of my all-time, it's in my top 5 favorite quotes of all times. What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh, making people feel good, make me feel important. That was kind of an old Mary Kay saying, is make people feel important. I think you can say and do a lot of things, but when people leave your presence, how they feel about themselves is the most important thing, and that's what they're going to remember. And I tell you, I have stumbled in that area. I think we all have, as
Absolutely,
far as
we all have, yeah.
in life. You can go into a situation and be kind of we're going to go in and get it done and be done and leave. And when you forget to make people in the room or the people that you're dealing with feel good about what you're doing, then that decreases your impact. So anyway, that's what that means to me.
You do a good job of that, because I feel like your words, you always choose the right words at the right time. And I know that's a learned, because I know I've said the wrong words at the wrong time. And then I always think, gosh, I got to do better next time. But every time I've heard you speak, whether it's in a public speaking situation, one-on-one with a child, or even in opposition of someone that feels a different way, your words are so eloquent and don't make anyone feel bad. And I think that's a gift, because words can make other people feel bad.
Yeah.
How did you get to that place? Because I think a lot of us aspire to that.
Well,
Christine.
I have not perfected it yet, but I think that's the thing, is keeping that in your mind when you're going through life. If you're just really focusing on how do I say this in a way that it's not, it doesn't make you feel bad, but it actually helps you want to do better.
Yeah.
I just think it has to be a constant practice.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't. So maybe you haven't been around me when I didn't get it right. Yay.
Well, and like Maya Angelou also says, when you know better, you do better.
Exactly.
And I love that quote, because, she says, you did then what you knew how to do. When you know better, you do better. And that quote hits me at so many different times when I look back on my life and go, oh, but at least I learned from that. And now I'm going to do better. So it is something, when you see it, you can acknowledge it and go, okay, next time.
Yeah.
What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote right now, I kind of have them moving around, but I really love, Charles Swindoll said, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it.
Oh, so true.
And I, through some experiences over the last 5 years, name it, bond, COVID, all of the things
Right.
that we kind of go through, and letting, launching kids into the universe, and all of the
Yes.
things that
Letting them go.
that happen. You just really have to focus on your reaction to life, because life is going to happen. And you can't control most of it.
Nope.
You do have choice, but a lot of things you aren't in control, but you are in control of how you react to the things that happen to you in this
Absolutely.
life. And so I think that's
love
one of
that.
my favorites right now.
I love that. And I think I don't know the exact Brené Brown quote, but something about expectations, because you can't have expectations on things that you can't control, right? And you also have to be, there's a great book that is oh gosh, now I just lost it. Help me out here. when someone offends you. Unoffendable. Sorry. I haven't had enough coffee yet.
Different words.
I'm like, what's the word? What's the word? Unoffendable. There's a great book called Unoffendable. And it's like when you can get to a point where you're unoffendable by anything and you just, you approach every situation with grace and you don't expect others to respond like you would respond. Gosh, it just puts every situation into a more joyful one to me, and that's to me what life's about. I mean, you've got to find the joy in every situation, even the ones where someone may be trying to offend you.
For sure. I mean, and what they're trying to do is get you to act unbecomingly.
Yes.
And if you can resist that, you're not. Number one, you're not giving them what they want, and number two, you're really speaking to them in a way that they probably need to be spoken to.
Yes, I love that. I love that
with a bitten tongue and everything.
Yes,
and
yes,
a smile.
Yes, because I mean, to me, at the end of the day, you just want you want your voice heard, but you also don't want to hurt anyone's feelings at the same time. And so I think that those are good ways to look at those interactions.
Sure.
But be unoffendable. I love that.
For sure.
Let's talk about leadership because I would love to know your answer on all three of these. Okay, you ready?
Okay, I'm
what
nervous.
makes No, you're gonna do great. Because I feel like you're all these things. So I want to know what you think makes a good leader, a good volunteer, and a good parent. And they can be different answers. I would love to hear your take on those three.
Okay. So a good leader.
Yes.
Well, I think there is somewhat of a misconception about leadership.
Okay.
So I think if you can first understand that leadership is not always out in public and out in the open, you are leading someone somewhere in your life, whether it be your kids looking up to you. I mean, you may not leave the house, but your kids are seeing what you're leading them to do. You may be a really shy or introverted person, but you're still a leader in your circle of influence. So leadership, to me, is realizing that it's in everything that you do. Every action is leadership, from the smallest thing to the biggest thing to really being out there and being public. So if you can kind of keep your perspective on what leadership truly is, I think that's how you're a really good leader.
Do you want to give a good example of a good leader?
Oh, gosh. Well, Jesus Christ.
The best.
Yeah.
The best leader.
I am about perfection.
Yes.
I think he got it down.
He got it down.
That's who I think, we can't be perfect, but his style of leadership was servant leadership. And serving in the smallest ways to the biggest ways. So
love that.
That would be my aspiration of a leader.
I love that. That is perfect. What about volunteer? What makes a good volunteer?
Okay, so a good volunteer is willing to do anything as long as it doesn't compromise your values.
Right.
So you're willing to get your hands dirty. You're willing to anything that someone asks you to do in that, space for volunteerism, that you're willing to get your hands dirty and do the work. Because what kind of work you do in while you're volunteering shows what kind of a leader you are.
Very true.
So,
and I'll give an example of a good volunteer. You're looking at one. But do you have an example of a good volunteer?
Gosh, I've had some really great volunteer mentors in my life, and one of them, Charla Hotchkiss, and another one, Joan Baskin, and just both of them very strong women, but willing to do the hard work and the messy work and the not fun part of volunteering. But they were, gosh, if I could be half the woman that they were,
Well,
Are.
you are up there, and you're well on your way there. I think you're already there. But no, those are two amazing, examples, and I think that it's good to have women like yourself, like Charlotte, that the community can look up to and say, oh yeah, that is a good volunteer. They're someone that will go out. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's handing out the waters to oh no, we ran out of something from the school. I'm going to go get it real quick because that teacher needs it for this science project. Just doing whatever it is or jumping in, that truly does make a good volunteer. Even if you just bring the water, that is a good volunteer.
It is.
Let's talk about parent now. What makes a good parent?
Oh, still learning how to be a good parent. I think just being willing to own your mistakes as a parent. We don't know everything, and I think
even though we tell our kids sometimes we do, but
believe me,
we're winging it sometimes.
Behind closed doors, we're like, oh no, what did I just say or do?
Exactly.
How do I clean that up? So I think, that knowing that I don't know everything, also being willing to learn. Kevin makes fun of me all the time. I have so many parenting books that I read like the first 3 chapters and I'm like, I've got this. And then I'm moving on
right there
to the
with you.
next one. But I have
Or we
learned-
joke that in the first child, you read every parenting book. By the 3rd or 4th one, you could write the book.
But also things change.
Yes.
Like my first child, there were parenting books that were relevant at the time, but I remember when cell phones started coming out and I started learning about technology and parenting, and I was like, I need to read all the books and I need to learn all the things because this is a new we're embarking on something new that we've got to help figure out how to navigate with our kids.
And it changes in each stage, right?
It does.
I mean, I felt like, I have the little kids down, and then they became big kids, and then I was like, I don't have the big kids down, and then they become adults.
So we know that we're not going to know it all, but we do the best that we can, and I think modeling, really taking a good look at your own life, and that saying of "do as I say, not as I do." Oh my gosh. I think when my kids were teenagers, I know when my kids were teenagers, I thought, oh, that is not true. Like I have to live the way that I'm telling them that I want them to live. And so that was a pretty big shift in my parenting. Not that I was some crazy, wild parent or anything like that, but just being more intentional about leading them in the way that I wanted them to live, and in the little things and the big things. And then each kid is so different. So once you think you have it figured out, then the next one kind of throws you a curveball. And
did that shock you as a parent that
really,
they weren't all the same?
It really did.
It did us too. I'm glad we're not alone. No, I'm glad we're not alone because one day we were like, they're all so different. I thought they were going to all be the same. You can't talk to one the same way as you do the other, or it
is so interesting, so interesting. And then I guess the last thing about being a good parent is find someone that has been there before you. Like maybe their kids are just a little bit older than yours, or maybe and they. You've seen them parent in a way that you strive to parent. You see that the way that their kids are, and you respect that and what they're doing, and go to them and say, "Give me all of your advice."
Like I did last year when I called you. And I would say a good example of a good parent is right here. I mean, really, you are, and your advice is so good too, because sometimes have you ever called someone for advice, or maybe even just in passing, and afterwards you were like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll take that, and or whatever. But when you give me advice, I'm like, I am writing this down, I'm doing it, it's gonna all be okay. Like I listen to every single word you said, because it's good to find someone, as you said, that has been through it, because A, it makes you feel like you're not alone, right? B, it maybe gives you a different perspective than you didn't think about, and C, it makes you go, oh, this is normal. This is okay, and everything's going to be all right. Who would you say are your parenting mentors, or a good parent in your?
Gosh, I think I don't really have one parent that I really glean wisdom and knowledge from a lot of different parents. And, I think my parents, and anybody's parents, you can look at the way that your parents parented you and the things that were good and the things that you maybe would do a little bit differently.
Right.
And I think that's the magic of parenting and looking to be a good parent, is when you learn, you take the good things and the things that are not so good, you leave them, but you don't, you don't marginalize them or make them seem, they're not bad things.
Right.
It's that when you know better, you'll do better.
Yes.
So learning from that. So, there are things that I learned from my parents. There are parenting things that I learned from Kevin's parents. So looking at kind of those familial things and trying to make the best version of a parent that you think from your experience.
And I think that is important, is, I always try to take a nugget or two from every single, conversation or a book or a podcast I listen to on parenting or wherever it is. And I think, okay, how can I, either emulate that, or how can I, kind of move that and make that happen in my life. Yeah. And I love that because, oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so you did that for me when you did your podcast with your girls.
Oh, thank you.
And you asked them about maybe a podcast that they were listening to or their favorite thing. And one of your girls said that they were listening to a podcast about their future mate. And I thought about that. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to take this. Well, I have an older daughter that's married, and my middle daughter is not married, and not really, she hasn't found her person yet. But I was like, this would be amazing for her to
start praying
listen
for him
to
now.
And start praying, because as a parent, we've been praying for our kids' future spouses, but I didn't think about having my daughter really prepare and pray for and think about her future spouse. So anyway, so you did that for me.
Well,
like
Aspen did that. Aspen.
Yes.
Shout out Aspen.
Yes.
She is a wise one.
Yeah,
she is a wise one.
Your kids are amazing.
Well, thank you, and likewise. And I, on that note, what makes a good leader, volunteer, parent? I just want to say congratulations to you and to Kevin on all three of those, because, and I know it takes a village and it takes a team, and I know you lean on those other, people in your life too, because I know Al and I do. We would not be able to raise our children without the amazing people around us in our village, and so and you're included in that. So thanks for always picking up the phone when I call with that question of what do I do now?
Thank you.
Because it helps to have people like that in your life. I think that's important, that you have people, whether it's mentoring in business, mentoring in parenting, mentoring in education, which we're going to talk about education in a minute. We've just been talking about life so far. We're going to talk about your new role in a minute. But first, I want to talk about our question of the day. All right, so 20 after which once again we probably went over. But I'm sitting here today in Midland, Texas, with Christine Foreman. For those of you maybe just jumping in or you're on a run, we just want to say thank you for being with us and really just sitting down with two friends who are talking about life, which I love. She is the region.
No one else may care about this at all, but we're having a good time.
We're having fun, and we hope you are too. And hopefully you're learning a nugget or two. But Christine is the Region 18 Education Service Center Public Relations, Public Relations Liaison, mom, volunteer, and the cheerleader of education.
I think you got them all.
Got them all. So what'd you get?
Okay, so I got trusting.
Okay, the trusting card, which I think that fits you perfectly.
Oh, it does, actually. Is there a change you've made in your life that you wish you would have made sooner?
Ooh, that's a good one. Is there a change that you wish you would have made sooner?
Yes, I am very much a truth person, very realistic, very real. I just want you to tell it to me straight, and I think other people want me to tell it to them straight.
You don't want it sugar-coated.
But apparently not everyone is like that.
This is is true. This is true.
So I wish I would have understood grace a little bit better, a little earlier in my life. And again, I learned it at just the right time for my life. But there were probably some people I offended before I learned grace when I was way truth.
You're not alone. We've all done that.
Yes.
We've all been there. But that's a good one. Grace is so important because, once you've been given it, you want to give it.
Yes.
Right?
Well, and you have to, the thing that I learned very kind of almost overnight was I can't give grace until I accept grace. And that's where my problem is I wasn't giving myself grace, and therefore I couldn't extend it to other people. I was just feeding I want to know the truth. I want to know the facts. And, seems like you might need a little grace in there to make that all work. So that's what I would have done sooner.
I love that. I think, and I've learned that the hard way for sure, because, I want to make people smile, right? You know that about me. I want people to find joy, make them smile. I didn't realize early on, sometimes what I might think is funny and just a joke, other people might not. My kids will look at me and go, "Is that a joke?" It was supposed to be a joke. And you have to really kind of find the fine line with that, where with you it was sugarcoating, with me it was more joking. I was like, I don't ever want to offend anyone with something that I think, it was funny, and usually I'm making fun of myself, but still it might offend somebody else. And so, I've been there.
My mom and I just had this conversation the other day about sarcasm. And I learned in a leadership training that I went through, or values training that I went through in 2016. I always felt like I understood sarcasm and it didn't hurt my feelings, and I thought it was funny and I could get it.
Right.
But sarcasm is humor at someone else's expense. And sarcasm is not funny.
Right.
Even if you're good at it, even
Right.
if you can do it without, when you think you're not making people feel bad, it gave me a new perspective on what sarcasm really was, because I didn't think it was a bad thing before, and now I'm a little more careful.
That's so true. I didn't think about that.
Even if it's at your own expense.
Exactly.
It's not healthy.
No. And, we grew up on like Seinfeld, who was the king of sarcasm.
Absolutely.
And, when you watch him, you think, that's so funny. But then you're like, it was at someone else's expense now if you look back at it. So that is such a good point. Oh, I love that. See, I love that we learn things as we grow and get older. And what is the biggest life lesson you think you have learned?
That I cannot control everything.
That
there is someone larger than me, larger than life, greater than me, that controls this universe. And that is my biggest revelation. Because as you're growing up, when you're a kid, you think the world revolves around you and you think you can control everything. And I think it just gets worse until you finally succumb to a greater power.
Yes. And that's why what I love about the serenity prayer, because it just makes you go, oh yeah, I can't control this, and I shouldn't worry about things that are beyond my control, because it's not gonna make it go my way. Right. It's not. I have to let God do his thing. Just let God do.
Yep.
and it's hard to get there, and it takes years, and I'm still working on it, and
it's a daily practice.
It's a daily practice. That's why I have that serenity prayer up in our house where I can read it every day. But I love that. That is such a good lesson. What has helped you release that control?
My relationship with Christ, just being in the Word and surrounding myself with other like-minded people, and just praying and letting go and trusting Him.
I love that. We are going to talk a little business now.
Okay.
A little business, because I'm so excited about
I'm so excited too.
iLead and this new program that you're working together and implementing with Region 18. So first of all, let's talk about your new role and what you're doing.
Yes. Okay. So I wasn't looking for a job. I was loving doing my volunteer work and just kind of minding my own business. And I got a call from the directors at Region 18 Education Service Center last summer, and they invited me to coffee. And honestly, I thought that they were inviting me to coffee to kind of learn about the landscape of Midland ISD, because I'm so involved, just to pick my brain. Yeah. And so I met them for coffee. And the executive director hands me this piece of paper with my picture on it and a bio about my role as the public relations, what I think he called the public relations, not liaison, but director. Or I think that, but then he said, we can change this title if you want. Like he just showed what he had the vision.
I love that. That was good. It was. Talk about way to have somebody see it, just to see it on paper.
Exactly.
That was very smart.
So, and they just shared with me that, as a region service center, their job is to support the 34 school districts in their region. And support those superintendents and educators and students across the whole region, but looking for ways to be more community-minded and be more collaborative in the community, because that's the way education is going. And the executive director had done a really great job of kind of getting in there and doing some work to make sure that they were internally healthy and financially healthy. And then his next 5 to 10 year vision had to do with telling the story about what Region 18 does, and then also connecting that story to the community and how we can all work together. And so he saw that I was doing that kind of in Midland, and
he wanted you to branch out and help everybody.
Exactly.
I love that.
So painted that picture of what that looked like, and I still wasn't convinced because I had a daughter getting married in August, and had a son who was getting close to being a senior, and
daughter going off to college. Yeah, you had a lot going on.
Yeah, You're like, is this a lot going on? And on top of that, the 40 hours a week of volunteer work that I do on the different boards and things. So I just said, oh, this is really great. It sounds like something I would love to do, but I don't have time to take a full-time job. But thanks anyway.
Thanks for thinking of me.
Yeah, and maybe I can help you find somebody. And they said, no, we'll wait.
Oh, nice. And so they were creating this job for you. This job was not already there. They were creating.
Right.
Okay,
that's
awesome.
right.
I love that.
And so we kind of left there, and they said, get your daughter married, get your other daughter to college. Let's follow up in a couple of months. And so I followed up in a couple of months, and they asked me to write down all the volunteer jobs that I did, and the things that take my hours in the day. And I presented them, and they said, oh, well, these are all the things that fit into your job description. So do you want to get paid for volunteering?
You're like, oh, that would be nice. Why
not? So that's how I was sold. Is not that. It aligned with my passion for what I was already doing, but then also allowed me to continue doing the things that I was doing and actually make money for it.
I love that.
And
that's fantastic.
So that's how I got there. And then I prayed about it a lot, and just because, like I said, I wasn't envisioning myself getting a job. Kevin and I were looking at empty nesting. Yeah. And I was excited about that, but I felt like God was telling me there's a purpose for you in this. And so I leapt into a full-time job and started there in October, and just continued to kind of do what I do, started connecting and all of that. And then,
there's more.
The executive director asked me to look at a values-based leadership curriculum for students that he was looking at looking for something. He had, been looking at a lot of different curriculum with the other directors that were already working there. And I had done the values-based leadership or values-based professional development in MISD in 2016 before COVID. And I really believe it was a game changer. But we weren't able to continue doing it with all the changes in leadership in MISD and with COVID and all the things. So that had kind of been put on hold, but I always in the back of my mind realized in dealing with students and being in PTA and being around kids, subbing in schools and things, we don't talk to our kids, even me, who does try to do at least one meal together a week. I don't talk to my kids about what their values are or what their values should be. And then not just what are they, but are you acting on them? And how are you doing those things? And we just don't take the time to do it, even though I feel like, we raised our kids in church and all of those things, but we're not setting aside time to practice our values and really put them into play in our lives.
You don't talk about it. You're right. Like if there's a situation that comes up and something happened to so-and-so, and then you can talk about it and go, okay, this was not, a bad decision. What would be a good decision? But other than that, you don't really ever sit and talk about your values.
Yeah,
that's
it's not
interesting.
We don't make it intentional.
Yeah.
And that's what, so this initiative at Region 18 is a partnership with John Maxwell, the John Maxwell.
Who's amazing.
I know. And the Maxwell Leadership Foundation. So they have a curriculum that they've actually been utilizing in other countries.
Oh, wow.
But the United States has not really taken to it yet. And I think a lot of that is just in education. We find that it's hard to find time to do anything other than the academia.
Yeah,
but
very true.
But you almost don't. You almost don't not have the time to do this because these are life. This is life education.
Right.
These are things that they're going to take well beyond their expertise in engineering or in welding or whatever they decide to do. They are going to take these values on into their life, and it's going to be life-changing and transformational.
I love that. What does the program look like?
So we have a curriculum.
And is it taught in the school?
And so what we're doing right now is an informational meeting for all of the school districts in Region 18. We are piloting this for the first time in Texas.
Oh, fun.
And so we invited all of the superintendents, not because we want it to be top down, but because we want superintendents to bless this in their districts for their teachers that have time or want to do it or have the desire to do it. But what we found is once they learn about these values, these are universal values. We're talking about choice and commitment and self-worth and forgiveness, all these great things that you think about, but we need to practice so that we can do them better. What is our influence? How teachable are we? And so these basic...
good one. That's a good one.
So these basic values can and will change our schools. They'll change the culture. You hear about behavioral challenges right now in school districts, and this addresses those core beliefs in a kid, in a child, and an adult for that matter. So what we're able to do through this model that we're developing is we're going to launch the first cohort in September when school starts. Wonderful. So we're working this summer to let people know what it is, show them the curriculum so they can see it and feel it and touch it and know that it's not anything controversial.
Right.
And then we will prepare the teachers, or we call them sponsors. So it's an adult leader in the room. And the adult, it doesn't give teachers extra stuff that they have to prepare for.
It's already there for them.
They
right?
actually are just the adult in the room.
Okay.
The kids are facilitating this these values together in a peer-to-peer group.
Oh, I love that.
So they're actually learning from each other and taking turns facilitating, and it's just really exciting
That is
because
exciting.
that makes it something that they can own and they can go and carry it out. So the other really exciting thing is we're not just offering this to school districts in our region, where I've also, because I'm such a community-minded person, I've also worked out a way that any community organization in our region that
So
works
churches,
with school-age
athletics.
students. Yes.
I love it.
So like the Boys and Girls Club of the Permian Basin, or Be the Change Permian Basin, or, a sports team that's not maybe affiliated with a school, but it's
Love it.
30 to 45 minutes, one day a week for eight days
weeks?
8 weeks in a row.
That's
So
great.
it's super easy,
Yeah.
not a huge time commitment, and they're picking it up and they're practicing. So you get one semester done, and then you have another semester
I love
of
it.
8 more, and until you get through the 16.
Okay, so it's 16 total.
Yes, in I Choose, and then you go to I Do, which is the actions that correspond to the values. So living it out, and then I Lead, connecting influence and leadership.
Oh, wow.
So this is about 3 years of curriculum that can be built upon for students. So it's not one and done. This can be built upon, and our kids are 3rd through 12th grade is what the curriculum is written for. But we know we have some really rock star teachers that are below 3rd grade that can take the content and work it.
Make it a little more younger child friendly.
Right.
Yes.
And Maxwell Leadership Foundation is working on right now a pre-K through 3rd grade curriculum as well. So
That's
they're
incredible.
growing with us, and we're growing, and so the momentum behind it is really great. We had about 60 people in the room from around the community and around the region. Out of the 7 school district superintendents that were in the room, 6 of them said, sign us up. We want it district-wide. And so we're doing special sessions for these school districts over the summer so that more of their people can learn about it. And then how do we train them? We've got that model set up. And then how do we support them through the work? Being able to go into their classrooms if they need it, or get them on a Zoom call with the John Maxwell Leadership Foundation. They'll be on the Zoom calls with us, telling us what are the best practices, what are the things that they've seen work and not work.
I love it.
So
How can people, this truly is amazing, and I think this will make a big change, and really support kids in things that they need to be supported. And how does someone get involved? What do you suggest is the next step if someone is listening and says, and even if they're out of our region, because we have listeners in, all over the country.
Right.
So how can someone get involved?
they can call me.
There you go. It's that easy.
I love connecting. I don't know if you've figured that out, but I love
I
connecting
didn't know that about you. Oh, she is the best connector. Truly, she's like, oh, I know somebody that can help you. If you have any questions, she knows somebody that can help you with it.
Yeah,
I love
so
that.
we'll figure out a way. And that's the thing that we're learning is, every school is different. Every district is different. Every region is different. But this model can be, shaped to fit your students. And so we'll work with anyone on that, whether you'd be a community member. The other place that I see it, I'm bringing in, I say I'm a public school advocate. I absolutely am, but I also believe in private schools and charter schools. I think there's a place, post-secondary schools like Midland College and UTPB and Odessa College. There's a place for all of us in educating kids. To do what we do without having to compete. Instead of competing against each other, we need to work with each other and compete together.
Yes.
And so
I love
businesses, if you find there's a Southwest Bank in Odessa, their head of leadership is constantly training incoming employees, and she said these are soft skills or power skills that we need to teach our kids coming in so that they can do a good job working and relate to people and communicate. And so we're working in a way to help her train her new staff in these values, and think about the values of choices and teachability and those things that are valuable in the workplace.
So this works in the
so
workplace
it really
as well.
does. It can be across all sectors, private, public, you name it. We all need it. In fact,
Absolutely.
I have, I've read something new that it's helped me every day as I'm going through the curriculum.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Well, I'm so excited for you, and I know that this is going to make a huge difference. So be on the lookout for iLead and see how it helps our community and helps our children through the years, because I truly believe it's going to have an impact. We're starting to run out of time, which I am so not happy about. Let me just tell you, because I have so many more things I want to talk about.
Al keeps coming in and
yeah,
out.
and I'm like,
He's the
okay,
timekeeper.
that's how I know when Al comes in and looks like, okay, it's almost time. But I really want to ask you this question, because I think it's an important one. Our public school system, if there are any changes, if you could make one change today, like it was like you have this magic wand, Christine's coming in, boom, what would that change be?
I think hang on. I sometimes speak before I think. So let me just pause on that.
Pause
and think
all
of
you
something
want.
really great to say.
Whatever you say, I know is going to be great, because you've lived it. You truly have lived, as a parent, as an educator, as a volunteer, as a PTA president. So I'm sure there is one thing that you just wish you could grant the public school system.
Well, I think it might be a little bit of a long answer, but I think granting them the autonomy to do what they are experts at and need to do without the fear of help from the outside. So
That's good.
I get where that trust crack is, because I think as a community member and as a parent, and before really getting in the middle of education, I think I thought I knew what the right things were to do to support. But when an educator sees sometimes that overzealous, or maybe it's not, maybe it's an idea that's not really founded in the expertise of education, they almost get scared when to see you coming to help, quote unquote help. And so we've got to fix that trust between community and education, because the community wants to help education, and education wants the help. They know they can't do it themselves, but how do we bridge that trust and heal that trust between the two? And so if I could grant anything, it would be grace.
Yes.
For educators to have grace with the community, and for the community to have grace with public education.
I love that. Well, I hope your wish comes true. I hope that a magic wand is waved, and I hope that can happen. Or you get a genie in a bottle, and that's one of your 3 wishes that you get to use. We are running out of time, but I want to ask your favorite. So we do a thing called favorite things, right?
Right.
And I just do. It's kind of like fast. First thing that pops into your mind. What is it? You ready?
I'm ready.
Favorite book?
My favorite book is called The Lineage of Grace, and it's Francine Rivers. She's an amazing author. She wrote Redeeming Love,
Which is great.
The Lineage of Grace is about the 5 women that are in the lineage of Jesus Christ.
I just bought it. I just bought it. I haven't opened it yet. When you said it made me think for a second. I'm like, gosh, that sounds familiar. Why does it sound familiar? Oh, I went into Mardell and bought it.
Yeah,
that's why.
I love it. You're gonna love it.
Okay, I cannot wait.
Awesome.
So favorite book. Okay, next favorite podcast.
Oh, my favorite podcast really is yours, because it's right there. It's in my favorites.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if you have another one, it's okay.
No.
You can shout it out too.
Yeah, no, this is it.
Awesome. Thank you. Favorite restaurant in West Texas?
My favorite restaurant is Cancun Grill.
Oh, I love that.
You will find us there
a lot.
A lot. Yes.
Well, we need to have a dinner date there then. Yes, we will. We need to do that.
Next time.
Yes,
because
next
it's
time.
on us this time anyway.
All right, next time. We're doing that. Favorite life hack?
Life hack.
Yeah, something that you're like, oh, this one works every time. Wish more people knew about it.
Finding a place that makes something really well, like cookies at Tony's Bakery or brownies at Murray's or whatever. And then you go and you take your own tray and you have them plated on your tray and you take them with you. So
that's smart.
yeah, you don't have to make it yourself.
That's a great life
But
hack.
everybody's like, oh, this is awesome. Can I have the recipe?
Like,
and I can't lie. I cannot tell a lie. And so I always say, go to Murray's. That's where I got them from. I just had them plated on my platter.
I love it. I love it. That is a great life hack. And I'm going to use that. Borrowed by Christine. Favorite memory in Midland? I love that it made you laugh.
My favorite memory in Midland is when I used to live across the street from the duck pond. That we were young, married, had little kids. My mom broke the rule of not giving your grandkids a living creature, and she got the kids colored ducks for Easter one year. And the ducks were so cute when they were tiny and colored and stayed in the little swimming pool that we got them. But then when they didn't do that anymore and they lost their color and they started pooping everywhere, I needed to take them, and I thought, oh, well, this is going to be easy. I'll just take them across the street to the duck pond. Well, they kept coming back.
Oh, my gosh.
I put a duck in a box, or the ducks in a box, and drove around to get their like little
their sensory off
and dropped them off on the other side of the duck pond, and they never made their way back. That's my
funny.
favorite Midland memory.
I love that.
Duck pond.
That is funny. All right, fun fact that we would not know about you. By reading your bio or reading that great bio that your boss now handed over to you.
The fun fact is that I was a surrogate for a friend of mine, and that baby child is 15 years old now. Gosh. And I have gotten to watch him grow into this amazing kid, and his family has enjoyed him so much. And I believe that he was a miracle placed in my body to grow for a reason, and I can't wait to see what great things he has.
That story, it gets me every time. It gets me and I actually got to hear you tell me the entire story recently at dinner, and talk about, I mean, it just makes you tear up, and you think what a blessing you are to that family as well. And I know you say it was, to you, but I'm like, whoa, that is just a miracle, and a fun fact, and a miracle, an amazing fact, and really speaks to you as a person as well. So, gosh, I just love this time, and I'm so sad we're out of time. Okay, favorite nonprofit, because then we have to go. We'd like to shout out at the end of our show a nonprofit organization.
So I'm really proud of my work at the Education Partnership of the Permian Basin. I know you are not surprised it's an education
not surprised
nonprofit.
at all.
But what started out as Educate Midland became the Education Partnership of the Permian Basin, because again, education needs to be more collaborative, and we need to work across city, county, regional lines. And there was a time that we didn't think that was going to happen. We thought that we were all going to pick up our toys and go in our separate directions and not work together. But we had hard conversations and worked through the challenges, and we did it. And Education Partnership of the Permian Basin is doing some amazing things right now. So that's my top nonprofit right now.
I love it. Community over competition. I love that you guys got together instead of went and competed against each other.
Absolutely.
I love that. Fantastic. Christine, it has been such a joy and such a pleasure. And we'll have to do a part 2 at some time, because I'm like, we're not done yet. There's so much more we could talk about. But is there anything that you didn't get to say today that you're like, coming into this podcast, I really hope we get to talk about, and maybe we didn't get to?
I just want to thank you and Al for the vision that you have through this podcast and through your work and the things that you do in the community. You're so generous, and both of you and I have loved knowing each of you separately and then together, and growing our kids together. So I just want to thank you for having me and for all that you do in our community.
Well, thank you so much. And it goes both ways. I feel the same way. I want to thank you for all you do. And I just love you, not only as a mom, an educator, as a volunteer, but I just love you as a human. You are such a good human. And so I think you are well on your way to that vision that you have for yourself and living like Christ, because you do that daily. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for your time. And if you have any questions, if you want to know more about iLead, if you want to know how you can support your kids in your school district or PTA, just call Christine. She will be more than happy to answer any questions you have or help support you or just give you that one little nugget that's going to go, okay, I can do it, because she is education's biggest cheerleader. And I just thank all of you for your time. Christine, thank you. It was so much fun.
Thank
I
you.
loved
I'm sad
each
it's
and every.
over.
I am sad too. See, this is my sad face because I really did. I had so much more we could talk about. Next time we'll do a follow up. I want to see how iLead is helping, and we will definitely
Absolutely.
follow up. But if you have any questions, reach out to Christine, and please follow and support these local businesses however you see fit. Tapestry Hotel Midland, Rig ID Workwear, JoinCapClub.com, and Midland Cap Company. They are sponsors for our podcast, and they help us get to share the amazing stories of West Texans, because we are all in this together. We want to help our community, our nonprofits, our education, our health care. We want to help everyone here in West Texas be the best they can be, and that means you too. So hopefully you've learned something today, and that'll help you be the best you can be. I know I did, just by sharing this time with Christine, and we appreciate everything. Don't forget my mottos: dream big, believe, and never give up. Thanks for joining us. You make it a great day. Bye.
Bye.